the small village of Ravenswood, nestled deep within the dense forest, there existed a legend that sent shivers down the spines of its inhabitants. The tale spoke of a witch, a dark and malevolent being who had cast a curse upon the village, bringing misery and despair to all who dwelled within its boundaries. According to the legend, the witch was not always a creature of darkness. Long ago, she was a young woman named Morgana, known for her beauty and kindness. She possessed a deep connection with nature and possessed a rare gift for magic. Her abilities were revered by the villagers, who sought her help in times of need. However, jealousy and greed soon tainted the hearts of some villagers. They coveted Morgana's powers and sought to possess them for themselves. Fueled by their envy, they spread rumors and lies, accusing Morgana of using her magic for nefarious purposes. As the whispers grew louder, fear and suspicion took hold of the villagers. They turned against Morgana, branding her a witch and blaming her for every misfortune that befell the village. Consumed by anger and betrayal, Morgana retreated into the depths of the forest, vowing to unleash her wrath upon those who had wronged her. Alone and filled with bitterness, Morgana delved deeper into the forbidden arts of dark magic. She made a pact with the forces of darkness, trading her soul for unimaginable power. The once benevolent witch transformed into a creature of pure malevolence, her heart consumed by vengeance. With her newfound powers, Morgana unleashed a curse upon the village of Ravenswood. The curse brought forth a never-ending night, shrouding the village in perpetual darkness. Crops withered, livestock perished, and the once vibrant village became a desolate and haunted place. The curse did not stop there. The villagers began to experience strange and terrifying occurrences. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, whispers echoed through the night, and objects moved of their own accord. Fear gripped the hearts of the villagers as they realized they were at the mercy of the witch's curse. Rumors spread of the witch's lair, a place where she conducted her dark rituals and plotted her malevolent deeds. It was said to be hidden deep within the heart of the haunted woods, a place where even the bravest souls dared not venture. The villagers believed that if they could find the witch's lair and destroy her, the curse would be lifted, and their lives would return to normal. Legends spoke of the witch's familiar, a creature of darkness that aided her in her wicked endeavors. It was said to be a monstrous beast, half human and half animal, with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp claws. The villagers feared encountering this creature, for it was said to be fiercely loyal to the witch and would stop at nothing to protect her. As the legend of the witch's curse grew, so did the desperation of the villagers. They sought the help of priests, healers, and even attempted exorcisms, but all their efforts proved futile. The curse seemed unbreakable, and hope began to fade. Little did the villagers know that their salvation would come in the form of a brave hero, destined to confront the witch and break the curse. This hero, guided by a mysterious prophecy, would embark on a perilous journey, facing countless trials and dangers along the way. The legend of the witch's curse had become deeply ingrained in the history of Ravenswood. It served as a constant reminder of the consequences of envy, betrayal, and the destructive power of dark magic. The villagers would forever carry the scars of the witch's curse, but they would also learn the importance of unity, forgiveness, and the strength that lies within the human spirit. The origins of the witch's curse were deeply rooted in a dark and sinister ritual. It was said that the witch, known only as Morgana, had delved into the forbidden arts of black magic in her pursuit of ultimate power. The villagers whispered tales of her twisted rituals, performed under the cover of darkness, in a hidden lair deep within the haunted woods. Morgana's journey into the realm of dark magic began with her insatiable thirst for knowledge. She sought out ancient texts and scrolls, rumored to hold the secrets of forbidden spells and rituals. Through her relentless pursuit, she discovered a long-lost grimoire, said to be written by a powerful sorcerer from a bygone era. Within the pages of the grimoire, Morgana found the incantations and instructions for a ritual that promised to grant her unimaginable power. It was a ritual that required the sacrifice of innocent souls and the channeling of dark energy from the netherworld. With a heart consumed by darkness, Morgana was willing to pay any price for the power she desired. To perform the dark magic ritual, Morgana needed a collection of rare and macabre ingredients. She scoured the land, seeking out the most elusive and sinister components. Her search led her to graveyards, where she plucked the petals of night-blooming flowers that only grew on the graves of the wicked. She harvested the venom of venomous creatures, capturing their essence in vials of darkness. But the most crucial ingredient of all was the blood of the innocent. Morgana prowled the village, selecting her victims with a cold and calculating eye. She chose those who were pure of heart, for their blood held the power to unlock the gateway to the netherworld. With each victim, Morgana's power grew, and the curse she would unleash upon the village drew closer to fruition. Under the cover of a moonless night, Morgana ventured deep into the heart of the haunted woods. In a clearing shrouded in darkness, she prepared for the ritual that would forever change the fate of the village. She drew a circle on the ground, inscribing ancient symbols of power and protection. Within the circle, she placed the gathered ingredients, arranging them meticulously according to the instructions in the grimoire. As the midnight hour approached, Morgana began to chant the incantations, her voice resonating with a haunting melody. The air grew heavy with an otherworldly presence, and the woods seemed to come alive with unseen forces. Shadows danced and twisted, as if eager to partake in the dark magic that was about to unfold. With the final verse of the incantation, Morgana raised a sacrificial dagger high above her head. The blade glinted in the pale moonlight, reflecting the malevolence that had consumed her soul. She brought the dagger down swiftly, piercing the heart of the innocent victim she had chosen for this final act. As the blood spilled onto the ground, a surge of dark energy erupted from the circle. The air crackled with power, and the ground trembled beneath Morgana's feet. The curse she had summoned was unleashed, spreading like a malevolent wave throughout the village, infecting every corner with its wickedness. The dark magic ritual had succeeded, and the curse had taken hold of the village. Morgana's power had grown exponentially, but at a great cost. The once thriving community now lived in fear and despair, as the witch's curse brought forth a reign of terror. The villagers would soon discover that breaking the curse would require an extraordinary hero, one who possessed the strength and courage to face Morgana in a final battle. But before that could happen, they would need to uncover the secrets of the witch's lair and understand the extent of her powers. Little did they know that their journey would take them deeper into the heart of darkness, where they would confront not only the witch herself, but also the demons that lurked within their own souls. The battle against the witch's curse had only just begun, and the fate of the village hung in the balance. The origins of the witch's curse were shrouded in mystery, but understanding the witch's motive was crucial in unraveling the dark magic that had befallen the village. As the villagers delved deeper into the history of the witch, they discovered the twisted desires that fueled her malevolence. To comprehend the witch's motive, one must first understand her tragic past. Long ago, the witch was known as Ilara, a young and innocent girl who lived in the village. She was kind-hearted and loved by all who knew her. However, her life took a tragic turn when her family was accused of practicing dark magic. Ilara's family was unjustly persecuted by the villagers, who believed they were responsible for a series of misfortunes that had befallen the community. Despite their pleas of innocence, Ilara's family was banished from the village, leaving her devastated and filled with anger and resentment. Driven by her desire for revenge, Ilara delved into the forbidden arts of dark magic. She spent years honing her skills, mastering spells and curses that would bring suffering to those who had wronged her family. Consumed by her hatred, Ilara transformed into the witch, a powerful and vengeful entity. The witch's motive was clear: to make the villagers pay for their cruelty and to ensure that they experienced the same pain and suffering she had endured. She wanted to instill fear and despair in their hearts, just as they had done to her and her family. With her newfound powers, the witch unleashed a curse upon the village, casting a dark shadow over its inhabitants. She cursed the land, causing crops to wither and die, and animals to become sickly. The once thriving village became a desolate and fearful place, as the witch's curse took hold. But the witch's motive went beyond mere destruction. She reveled in the villagers' fear and despair, feeding off their negative emotions. Their suffering brought her a twisted sense of satisfaction, as she believed it was a just punishment for the injustices inflicted upon her family. In the witch's twisted mind, she justified her actions as a means of seeking justice. She believed that the villagers deserved to suffer for their ignorance and cruelty. In her eyes, the curse was a necessary consequence of their actions, a way to make them understand the pain they had caused. The witch saw herself as a harbinger of justice, a force that would bring balance to the scales of fate. She believed that by inflicting suffering upon the villagers, she was restoring the cosmic order that had been disrupted by their unjust treatment of her family. As the villagers uncovered the witch's motive, they realized the depth of her delusion. The witch had become so consumed by her desire for revenge that she had lost sight of the true consequences of her actions. She failed to see that her curse was not only punishing the guilty, but also innocent children and families who had no part in her family's persecution. The witch's motive, though born out of pain and suffering, had become distorted and twisted. Her desire for justice had morphed into a sadistic pleasure in the suffering of others. It was this delusion that made her curse all the more terrifying and difficult to break. As the villagers prepared for the final battle against the witch, they knew that understanding her motive was crucial. It allowed them to see beyond the fear and hatred she had instilled in their hearts and find a way to break the curse. Only by confronting the witch's twisted motive head-on could they hope to bring an end to the darkness that had plagued their village for far too long. The witch possessed a formidable array of powers that made her a force to be reckoned with. Her abilities were not only dark and mysterious, but also deeply rooted in ancient and forbidden magic. The villagers had heard whispers of her powers, but they had no idea of the extent of her abilities until they faced her wrath firsthand. The witch's primary power lay in her mastery of dark magic. She could manipulate the very fabric of reality, bending it to her will. With a mere flick of her wrist, she could summon dark energy, creating powerful spells and curses that could bring devastation to anyone who crossed her path. Her spells were infused with malevolence, causing pain, suffering, and despair to those unfortunate enough to be targeted. One of the most terrifying aspects of the witch's powers was her ability to shape-shift. She could transform herself into any creature she desired, blending seamlessly into the shadows and striking fear into the hearts of her victims. The villagers never knew when she would appear, as she could take on the form of a raven, a black cat, or even a haunting mist that enveloped the night. The witch had the ability to control the minds of others, manipulating their thoughts and actions to serve her dark purposes. She could plant seeds of doubt, fear, and paranoia, turning friends against each other and sowing chaos within the village. No one was safe from her influence, and even the strongest-willed individuals could fall victim to her mind control. The witch had a deep connection with the elements, allowing her to harness their power and use them to her advantage. She could summon raging storms, conjure bolts of lightning, and create walls of fire that engulfed everything in their path. The elements obeyed her every command, becoming her loyal servants in her quest for dominance. Perhaps the most chilling of the witch's powers was her ability to commune with the dead. She could raise the deceased from their eternal slumber, commanding them to do her bidding. The villagers lived in constant fear of their loved ones being used as puppets by the witch, forced to carry out her dark deeds against their will. The witch's powers granted her immortality, making her virtually indestructible. She had lived for centuries, accumulating knowledge and power that surpassed anything the villagers could comprehend. No matter how hard they tried to defeat her, she always seemed to emerge unscathed, ready to unleash her wrath upon them once again. To aid her in her wicked endeavors, the witch had a loyal and malevolent familiar by her side. This creature, often a black cat or a raven, possessed its own set of powers and served as an extension of the witch's will. It acted as her eyes and ears, gathering information, and carrying out her commands with unwavering loyalty. The witch's powers were a terrifying force that held the village in its grip. The villagers knew that they had to find a way to break the curse and put an end to the witch's reign of terror. But to do so, they would have to confront her powers head-on and find a way to overcome the darkness that had consumed their lives. Deep within the heart of the haunted woods, hidden from prying eyes, lay the dreaded lair of the witch. It was a place of darkness and despair, where the very air seemed to carry a malevolent energy. The entrance to the lair was concealed by a thick canopy of gnarled trees, their branches twisted and contorted like the witch's own soul. As one ventured closer to the lair, the atmosphere grew heavy with an eerie silence. The usual sounds of nature were absent, replaced only by the distant cawing of crows and the rustling of leaves underfoot. The air grew colder, sending shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to approach. The path leading to the lair was treacherous, strewn with jagged rocks and tangled roots. It seemed as though nature itself was trying to deter any intruders from discovering the witch's secrets. But there were those who were willing to risk it all, driven by a desperate need to uncover the source of the curse that had befallen their village. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the trees grew taller and more menacing, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The once vibrant foliage had withered and turned a sickly shade of gray, as if drained of life by the witch's dark magic. The very ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, as if warning them to turn back. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the entrance to the witch's lair. It was a decrepit old cottage, its wooden beams rotting and its windows shattered. The air around it crackled with an unholy power, making it clear that this was the epicenter of the witch's malevolence. Stepping inside, they were greeted by a scene of utter chaos. The walls were adorned with sinister symbols and strange incantations, written in a language long forgotten by the world. Jars filled with grotesque ingredients lined the shelves, their contents emitting a putrid odor that made their stomachs churn. In the center of the room stood a cauldron, bubbling with a noxious green liquid. It was here that the witch performed her dark rituals, harnessing the power of the cursed objects she had collected over the years. The room was filled with the remnants of her spells, the air thick with the lingering scent of burnt herbs and sulfur. But it was not just the physical artifacts that made the lair so terrifying. It was the palpable sense of evil that hung in the air, as if the very walls were infused with the witch's malevolence. It was a place where nightmares were born, where the line between reality and the supernatural blurred. As they explored further, they discovered a hidden chamber tucked away behind a secret door. It was here that the witch kept her most prized possession, her familiar. The creature was a grotesque amalgamation of different animals, its form twisted and distorted. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, reflecting the darkness that consumed its master. The familiar was the witch's loyal companion, aiding her in her wicked deeds and carrying out her bidding. It was a creature of pure malevolence, its very presence sending shivers down their spines. They could feel its gaze upon them, as if it were watching their every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Leaving the lair, they couldn't help but feel a sense of relief mixed with lingering dread. They had glimpsed into the heart of darkness, witnessed the source of the curse that had plagued their village. But they knew that their journey was far from over. Armed with this newfound knowledge, they would continue their quest to break the witch's curse and bring peace back to their village. As the villagers delved deeper into the mystery surrounding the witch, they discovered a crucial piece of the puzzle: the witch's familiar. Legend spoke of a creature that was bound to the witch, serving as her loyal companion and aid in her dark endeavors. The villagers knew that understanding the familiar would provide them with valuable insights into the witch's powers and motives. Rumors and whispers circulated throughout the village about the witch's familiar. Some claimed it was a sinister black cat with piercing green eyes, while others believed it to be a shadowy figure that could morph into any shape it desired. The descriptions varied, but one thing was certain: the familiar was a force to be reckoned with. The bond between the witch and her familiar was said to be unbreakable. It was believed that the familiar shared a deep connection with the witch, allowing them to communicate and work together seamlessly. This bond granted the witch access to the familiar's unique abilities, enhancing her own powers and making her even more formidable. Legends spoke of a dark ritual that the witch had performed to summon her familiar. It was said that she had ventured into the depths of the haunted woods, where she conducted a forbidden ceremony to bind the creature to her. The details of the ritual remained shrouded in mystery, but it was clear that the familiar's origins were steeped in dark magic. The familiar possessed a range of supernatural abilities that made it a formidable ally for the witch. It was said to have the power of shape-shifting, allowing it to take on various forms and blend seamlessly into its surroundings. This ability made it difficult for the villagers to identify and confront the familiar, adding to their frustration and fear. Additionally, the familiar was believed to possess the ability to manipulate the elements. It could summon gusts of wind, conjure bolts of lightning, and even control the earth beneath its feet. These powers made it a formidable opponent, capable of wreaking havoc on the village and aiding the witch in her malevolent plans. The villagers began to piece together the role of the familiar in the witch's curse. It became apparent that the familiar played a crucial part in the witch's ability to spread fear and chaos throughout the village. Its shape-shifting abilities allowed it to infiltrate the homes of unsuspecting victims, creating an atmosphere of paranoia and terror. Furthermore, the familiar's powers over the elements enabled it to manipulate the environment, making it easier for the witch to carry out her dark deeds. It would conjure storms, causing crops to wither and die, and unleash torrents of rain that flooded the village streets. The familiar's actions served as a constant reminder of the witch's presence and the villagers' helplessness. Armed with newfound knowledge about the witch's familiar, the villagers realized that they needed to devise a plan to neutralize this powerful entity. They understood that defeating the familiar would weaken the witch and give them a fighting chance to break free from the curse that had plagued their lives. The village elders gathered the bravest and most skilled individuals to form a task force dedicated to confronting the familiar. They studied ancient texts and consulted wise sages to uncover any weaknesses or vulnerabilities the familiar might possess. Armed with this knowledge, they prepared themselves for a dangerous and treacherous battle. The day of the final showdown arrived, and the villagers, filled with a mix of fear and determination, ventured into the heart of the haunted woods. They knew that the familiar would be waiting, ready to defend its witch companion at all costs. The air crackled with tension as the villagers prepared to face their greatest adversary. With their combined strength and unwavering resolve, the villagers engaged in a fierce battle against the familiar. They utilized their knowledge of its shape-shifting abilities and elemental powers to anticipate its every move. The battle raged on, with the familiar unleashing its full arsenal of dark magic, but the villagers fought back with unwavering determination. After a grueling battle, the villagers managed to weaken the familiar, exploiting its vulnerabilities and using their collective strength to overpower it. With a final surge of energy, they delivered a decisive blow, banishing the familiar from the village forever. The air grew still, and a sense of relief washed over the villagers as they realized they had triumphed over this formidable foe. With the familiar defeated, the villagers turned their attention to the witch herself. They knew that without her loyal companion, she would be significantly weakened. Armed with newfound hope and determination, they prepared to confront the witch and break the curse that had plagued their lives for far too long. The battle against the witch would be their greatest challenge yet, but the villagers were no longer consumed by fear. They had faced the witch's familiar head-on and emerged victorious. With their newfound strength and unity, they were ready to confront the witch and bring an end to her reign of darkness once and for all.